Hi guys, my name is Dakota Jones and I'm a freelance videographer. So this is the next episode of the series of camera basics. So this is episode 2. Episode 1 was about shutter speed and frame rate. So click here to go watch it, or here, whichever way. I don't know which way it is, but click there to watch it if you're curious, and thank you. So let's not waste any more time and let's jump right in. This episode is about aperture and lenses to buy for cinematic video. I mean, there's not a specific lens you should buy for a cinematic video, but these are the ones that I recommend that will make your videos look more cinematic and more professional. So for people that don't know what aperture is, so there's aperture blades in your lens, and these blades can open up wider or go down smaller, and the more wide the aperture is, the more light that comes in and the blurrier background. So say f3.5 is what I'm shooting on right now, compared to f1.4 is what my other lens shoots at. 1.4 is gonna allow a ton of light in, so it's gonna be better in low light. There's gonna be a lot more blurry background. 3.5 is the one I'm shooting on right now. As you can see, there's a little blurry background, but it's not too overkill like I've done in previous videos. But yeah, so usually the lower the f-stop, the bigger the lens is. I mean, not all the time. Sony actually makes pretty small lenses for f1.4, so props to them, but usually it's a little bit bigger glass because it needs to open wider. So higher f-stops, like f4 or something, like some lenses, they can get away with smaller glass. So like the front of the glass on the lens is a little bit smaller, so the ND filter can be smaller as well. So if you don't mind okay autofocus, like it's not the best but it's not super bad either, then I recommend the Samyang 50mm f1.4 lens. That's the one that I have right now that I'm gonna shoot my cinematic videos on. It's really good in low light because it's f1.4, so the aperture could be really big, and yeah. Also, it's made of full metal, so yeah, it feels really premium in the hand. It feels really nice. So it's also $400, so it's on the cheaper side of an f1.4 lens. Usually f1.4 lenses range from like $800 to like a couple $1,000 depending on what brand or what you get it for. If you want a faster focusing lens, I heard that the 85mm f1.4 Samyang lens is actually better than the 50mm f1.4. They had an update, so it's actually pretty good now, so I definitely recommend that. I was gonna buy that, but then I was like, I don't have that much money because I just spent a lot of money on my camera and I didn't really have enough money, but I really wanted to get the cinematic look while having a budget. So I got the Samyang 50mm f1.4. That focal length is equivalent to the eye, that's what people say, so that's why I got it. It's not too zoomed in, but it's not too zoomed out. It's like the perfect focal length, the nifty 50, that's what people call it. Another lens that I recommend that is extremely fast autofocus, but it is pretty expensive. I mean, it's really expensive. It's the 24mm f1.4 G Master lens. It's really good for like product videos, and like you know how I did the Basil Hayden's B-roll. Yeah, that would be a perfect lens for that because it has a really shallow depth of field, but also a pretty wide angle lens. Some of that I shot on a 28 to 70mm, which I'm shooting on right now. I shot some of that at 28mm and it looked pretty good. I mean, it looked decent, but I wish I had a blurrier background. That's why 24mm f1.4 prime lens is really good for those kind of videos. If you really do those videos, then I recommend that. You could also use it for travel videos because 24mm is actually pretty good for like wide shots. So another lens that I recommend, if you're on a budget and you really want a decent focusing lens and a really shallow depth of field, I recommend the 50mm f1.8 Sony lens. It's for full frame and APS-C, so it's only $200 right now. It's on sale, and I definitely recommend getting it. I heard great things about it. The reason why I didn't get that and I got a more expensive lens with, I mean, maybe worse autofocus, is because I really wanted f1.4 and I've never had that before, so that's why I didn't get f1.8. So this is the last lens I recommend, but you could either go for Sony or Sigma, but I recommend Sigma if you're on a budget because it's $1,000 less and it's almost exactly the same. Some people say it might be even better, but it's the 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8. It's not as wide open as f1.4 or f1.8, but it still gets the job done, and it makes it look so cinematic. It's so versatile. 24 to 70, so that's, you could either do a wide angle lens, it could be like a semi-wide angle lens to kind of like a zoomed up lens, almost like a portrait lens, honestly. And yeah, that's pretty good. It has 24 to 70, so it also has 50 millimeters in the middle. Overall, it doesn't really matter about the gear to make your cinematic videos look good. I just am saying I recommend these because it does help out a little bit, but you obviously can get away with it if you're really good at what you do. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. This was more of me recommending lenses to get for cinematic videos. I also gave you some information about Aperture and what it is. I'm gonna have another episode of Camera Basics, so stay tuned. And thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and see you guys in the next video. Bye.